Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Microsoft E3 2018 press conference recap and reactions stream/video. I've got a lot to cover. Microsoft went almost a full 2 hours in their press conference, and I'm going to squeeze that until maybe about an hour, maybe a little longer for you, so you definitely don't have to watch the whole thing. Microsoft, by far, covered a ridiculous amount of games in one conference, maybe some of the most amount of games I've ever seen in one single press conference at E3, but the main running theme you're going to see here during my recap of this press conference is that even though they did cover a lot of great games that sound great, and, you know, some of these even had solid release dates for the first time, which is excellent, yeah, not a lot of Microsoft exclusives that really got a lot of attention. And what I mean by that is they're like, oh, you know, Xbox, the best way to play, and then they're like, okay, what are the exclusives? And then when they finally get to them, you're like, okay, anything else? And then here's a good game, but it's cross-platform. So we'll talk about that as we go through the press conference recap. So first of all, it's got to be said, I think this is pretty hilarious. Phil Spencer, obviously the head of Xbox, comes out, and he's the one who leads the press conference, which is fine. He's a good guy. People like him. He's very charismatic, etc. But he literally mentioned Mixer probably about a dozen name drops throughout the press conference when he's just trying to wedge it into stuff, and you're like, what? If you guys don't know, Mixer is the Microsoft-owned streaming service. They're trying very desperately to compete with places like Twitch, and they're failing miserably. Like, no one, almost no one, uses Mixer unless they get paid to do so. And what I mean by that is, you know, obviously Microsoft tries to promote, so they pay certain streamers and the like to try to use their business. Obviously, people who are the PR guys for Microsoft, like Major Nelson and stuff, use it. But for the most part, everyone uses Twitch to stream, and then probably second place would be YouTube. Mixer, a distant third. So it's hilarious to see them name drop Mixer a million times during this press conference. And half the people watching are like, what's Mixer? I don't even know what it is. And the other half of us are just kind of chuckling to ourselves that they're really desperately trying to promote a streaming platform that they should have never launched to begin with. But anyway, let's get past that and get to the actual information of the press conference. Halo Infinite, a new Halo game. And we know nothing about it. All it does is it shows a planet with, like, wild rhinos running through it and a squad of, it looks like generic troops walking across the planet. And all of a sudden cut to Master Chief with his helmet off, and he puts his helmet on, and he puts some kind of a token or a microchip in the back of his helmet. Halo Infinite. And then Phil Spencer comes out, oh, it's going to be an amazing way to play Halo, and then he doesn't explain anything about it. And you're like, is this a new game? Is this a new way to play Halo? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're watching it, and you're like, I don't really understand what Halo Infinite is. And he doesn't explain. It just ends. It doesn't even go back to it for the rest of the press conference. So apparently there's something new Halo coming, but we have no idea what the hell it is besides it's called Halo Infinite, and I don't know how that's supposed to promote it. At least give us some information. They gave us none. It's just a shameless tease, basically. Okay? By the way, shout out to Pass the Curry, who just subscribed to the channel. All right, so much falling along the lines with the same thing that EA did at their press conference. Phil Spencer feels the need, before he even gives any information about anything, to say, welcome to all of our fans at FanFest, which, if you guys don't know, Xbox FanFest was something you had to pay to enter. It's a way that you pay for this special Microsoft event at E3, and you get to play all their games hands-on. He goes, oh, don't worry, all the proceeds that you guys paid to go to FanFest go to Gamers Outreach, a non-for-profit. To be, you know, multi-platform. Looks good. The graphics in particular looked quite good. It kind of looked like Bloodborne with samurai. Okay, that's like the best comparison I could give it. And it looked good, and it says coming out in 2019, and that's it. So there you go. That's probably one of the biggest things that I saw at the Microsoft press conference. Then Todd Howard came out from Bethesda, and he says, you know, later tonight we'll do our conference. We'll announce a lot more, but I just wanted to give you a teaser of a few things. First of all, I wanted to let you know Fallout 4, as of right now, is available on Xbox Game Pass. So if you're the monthly subscriber to Xbox Game Pass, you can play Fallout 4's full game right now. But I want to show you a little bit about Fallout 76. He says it is a full-on prequel. It takes place way before the plot lines of all the other existing Fallout games, and it's 4 times the size of Fallout 4, which when you hear that, you're like, so I guess it sounds like it's a mainstream Fallout game. It's not going to be some throwaway multiplayer game or a survival game. It sounds like it's going to be a regular Fallout game from the way he's describing it. And basically he says it takes place in the hills of West Virginia, and it's a prequel when the people are first coming out of the vaults for the very first time. It shows some plantations. It shows power armor. It shows Ron Perlman as the narrator. And it's basically the trailer that they already released. But it's cool that he gave us a little bit more background. And that was it. It wasn't actually more information than we really previously had. But it was nice to see Todd Howard at the press conference. And I'm very excited to see what more they have to say about, Fallout 76 later tonight at their own press conference. Okay. Oh, by the way, shout out to Adam VGE, who resubbed to the channel for the 5th month in a row and asked me if I'm going to play Fire Emblem. Right now, Fire Emblem is the last thing on my radar, and I have no plans to play it in the near future. Don't Nod, who released Life is Strange, and right now I'm playing a game from them, Vampire, announced a new game during Microsoft's press conference, although it's not a console exclusive. It's a game set in the Life is Strange universe, and it says that it will actually launch on the Xbox Store June 26th for free. Don't ask me how they're selling a game for free and how that's going to work. Maybe it's just a demo episode and you have to buy the full thing for free. But it's called The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. It's a young boy who's basically playing pretend in his yard like he's a superhero and he's fighting supervillains and he's turning different things in his yard into enemies and things. And it's basically just like Life is Strange, where it's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure kind of game. I don't know if there's going to be any supernatural powers. I think it'll be explained more if there are. That, it's his imagination running away with him. But it's the same graphical style, the same narrative style presentation, the same kind of deal as Life is Strange, only now it's with a new character. Again, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. I guess we're all going to find out what the hell it is on June 26th when it's actually released, because right now it's not really clear. How is there a business model where you're giving us the game for free? It doesn't make sense, right? Like I said, maybe it's a demo or a teaser on the 26th. And then maybe they're going to fast forward and they're going to say, now buy the game for a full $20, $30 episodic coming out in the next year or something. I guess we'll find out. We don't know. All right. Okay. Next, exclusive, an actual Microsoft exclusive, Crackdown 3, starring Terry Crews. All right. Terry Crews, not only is he the voice actor for the game, he's actually the main character. Release their game later this year. That's why they're all going early next year. Good observation. Haseo X4 just resubbed for the 8th month in a row, and he says, I hope my bank account can support all these game releases for 2018 and 2019. I think, Haseo, a lot of people are in the same boat as you right now, and we're all kind of wondering how things are going to go with all these games, going through a short period of time. So, all right, let's continue, and ladies and gentlemen, since I'm going into the second half of coverage for the Microsoft press conference, I'm going to switch over to the other template, although it's hilarious because, again, I got Call of Duty there, and it went for free over the course of this summer. And they said in the winter, there might be a winter map because they actually showed snow on the ground. So I guess they're teasing when the winter comes, there'll be a new winter map in PUBG as well. Like it's some big freaking deal. I mean, they've added a new map, they've added all these gameplay tweaks, and never fixed the frame rate or the delay in the responsiveness of the controls on Xbox One. So you could tell me there's a million new maps and a million new things until you actually fix the core gameplay mechanics. I don't really give a crap. But there you go. Okay. All right. Then the next thing that was announced was pretty much surprised everyone. Tales of Vesperia. Now that's a game I've never really talked to you guys about because Tales of Vesperia is a JRPG, action-based combat, but anime-style visuals that I actually played right before I became a YouTuber. It was actually, I believe, the summer of 2008. Don't quote me on that. It was either 2007 or 2008. I'm pretty sure it was 2008 that I played Tales of Vesperia before I ever recorded anything for YouTube. I really liked the game. I went back and got a ton of the achievements going through the game. I went back and did a lot of the things to get the higher level achievements and everything. I really liked Tales of Vesperia. They're re-releasing it called Definitive Edition, where it's going to have all the DLC content that was ever released for the game, better visuals, frames per second. Everything's going to be amazing, and it's coming out for modern consoles winter of this year. We don't exactly know when, but probably by the end of the year. So there you go. That was a surprising announcement. Then they showed off The Division 2. So the plotline of The Division 2 is that whole infection or whatever that took over the planet has advanced. It took over Washington, D.C., and now it's up to the Division to basically try to go in and liberate Washington, D.C. They then showed gameplay of the game, which looked incredibly generic. It looks exactly the same as the first game with maybe some tweaks here or there. And honestly, it just doesn't look good. It looks boring. It looks like a team-based shooter. The only reason it's fun is because it's a team-based shooter. I'm sorry. The first game did not impress me. I skipped it, and people literally told me, good thing you skipped it, because you would have just been wasting time. It's a grinding, repetitive, team-based shooter that's not very unique or interesting, and now they're having a sequel coming out, and they did not give the exact release date, I don't think, but they did show a lot of gameplay of it, and that's it. So, if you liked Division 1 or you like these grindy team-based shooters, good for you. Division 2 is coming up, but for me, it did not impress me whatsoever. I guess we'll have more information about that tomorrow when Ubisoft's press conference actually releases, okay? All right, a couple more shout-outs. We got Matt Top 9, who cheered. He said, in regards to Kingdom Hearts 3, the Hercules and Tango worlds were confirmed since 2015. The only new world is Frozen. Okay, I certainly haven't been totally following those worlds, but there you go. Now, Phil Spencer says, that's it. For the rest of the press conference, everything you will see is an exclusive world premiere that you've never seen anywhere before. People getting hype, right? So, there's a trailer starts playing, and it shows, of all things, the ship from One Piece. But then it shows Naruto on top of a building. Huh? So all of a sudden it shows Luffy in the middle of a street. Then all of a sudden Naruto walks up. Then all of a sudden Goku walks up. What the fuck is going on here, right? Then Frieza walks out. So all of a sudden they start fighting each other. Like, holy shit. It's basically a Shonen Jump mashup. So all the characters from the popular Shonen Jump manga series are apparently going to be in a mashup arena-style fighting game. Sounds like an interesting premise. But will the game actually be balanced and fun, or will it end up being a broken mess, just like a gimmick kind of a game? I don't know. It's called Jump Force. We have no information on the release window, but it looked kind of interesting. The graphics definitely impressed. And then as they're fading away, all of a sudden it shows Death Note, right? It shows, what's his name? The actual, like, Reaper guy from Death Note. So it's like, wow, they really are going to have a lot of the Shonen Jump stuff. Even not just the 3 main franchises, but maybe they'll have one-off characters from all the different ones stuck in there. It could be pretty funny. So it looks good. I don't know. We'll see. Jump Force. Will it be good? Will it not be good? A lot of people have issue with these arena fighters. They say that they're not very good. So I guess we'll find out. There you go. Okay. Up next. A game that, at first, I had no idea what it was. It ends up being Dying Light 2. That's right. They're making a sequel to Dying Light from a few years back. Now, if you guys remember, I liked Dying Light, but that game had so many goddamn bugs at launch. It was just broken as shit, remember? It took away all my upgrade points and basically then re-gave them to me, but only in one skill tree. The game, I was able to phase into the wrong areas of the map and do weird shit that I wasn't supposed to be fucking doing. You see what I mean? Like, it was just a weird, broken game. It was fun, but it didn't seem finished. It seemed like it was, like, unfinished and very buggy, and because of that, I couldn't really legitimately rate it very high when I played it, because the game was so unfinished and just messed up. Now, over the years, apparently they patched the shit out of this game, released DLCs, and apparently the game ended up being very successful in the long run. So now they're making a direct sequel, and they announced that there's basically some things that are going to be very different from the first game. Your choices will change the world, and so they play out this scenario. So you're running to these guys who control the water supply. Well, what happens if you kill them? It shows you kill one guy, you kick another guy off the building, they're dead. So now you're in charge of the water supply. But what ends up happening is basically the people who are now in charge of the water supply become kind of this dominating military force, and everyone has to do what they say if they want to drink the water, and if not, they basically are kind of executed in the streets. So it's like, oh god, it reminds me of like Nazi Germany, right? So they say, well, what happens if you did the other thing? What if instead of killing the people who controlled the water supply, you teamed up with them? Well, then you start a black market venture where you're selling the water and everyone has a lot of money, but because of that, you now attract the worst kind of elements. The worst humans in the area come because they all want to be a part of this, and they also want to try to see if they can take over the water supply. So basically, okay, you ready? These words came out of Phil Spencer's mouth. Are you ready? You ready, guys? I'm not making this up. He actually said this. Prepare yourselves. Tighten your pants. Get your stress balls ready. Squeeze them. Everything you need. I couldn't believe he actually fucking had the gall to say this at the Microsoft press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, not my words, Phil Spencer's words. Let's see. I cannot wait to see the Streamchat's reaction to what I'm about to read you. He closed the press conference saying this: you will always experience the best in gaming on Xbox. What? You're closing your press conference. You're closing your press conference. It's over. If we look back at the exclusives, alright, how many exclusives were blowing you out of the water exclusives? I mean, Crackdown 3, okay, looks fun. More Sea of Thieves content. Forza Horizon 4, it's an existing franchise, nothing fucking special there, right? I guess We Happy Few. Sessions, the new skateboarding game. Black Desert being on Xbox One first. The Cuphead DLC, the new Tunic game that looks like a furry Zelda. Battletoads coming out next year, right? I mean, I'm going through all the things I wrote exclusive. Did any of these things tell you you can only experience the best gameplay experiences on Xbox? No! These are all the best games of the Microsoft press conference. Were all cross-platform games. Guess what? One of the best games of this year is I didn't play on Xbox. God of fucking War, Phil. So what the hell are you talking about? Like, the best games very often are not available on Xbox. They're only PS4 exclusives, and you got to go buy a PS4. I couldn't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when God of War released this year, how many people who I follow them on Twitter, they're in my timelines of social media, they come to my streams. How many people told me, Phil, I finally caved. I was always an Xbox, hardcore fan. But bottom line, I wanted to play God of War. The game looks amazing. I bought a PS4 just to play it because I can't play it on Xbox. Mr. Phil Spencer, you will always experience the best in gaming on Xbox is a blatantly false statement. You literally lied to everyone through your teeth at your own press conference. Tons of great exclusives that are the best in gaming are only on PS4, and shame on you for making it sound like you guys are the best when in reality you're not. I'm sorry. The Xbox One is a great console. It has great backwards compatibility, and yes, it has great cross-platform games. The exclusives for Xbox One are absolutely nowhere near as good as the exclusives on PS4, and that's a factual comparison. That's not an subjective or, that's apples to apples. The games that are PS4 exclusives are better than the Xbox One exclusives, and you cannot make a statement like that at your press conference and expect people like me are just going to let it slide. Phil Spencer, you are a liar in 2018, and you owe an apology because that was fucked up to lie like that to everyone, all right? That being said, the press conference is ending, and all of a sudden, oh my god, it looks like the screen's being hacked. So obviously they had a special surprise in store for everyone. To close off the show, it's a presentation of Cyberpunk 2077 with what seems to be fun cutscenes, new characters, maybe even a little bit of gameplay element shown off here on this trailer. I really don't have much to say about it, only it looked really good to me. CD Projekt Red really bought my loyalty with Witcher 3, which in my opinion was one of the best games of a few years ago, if not the best game that year. So thumbs up to this. I can't wait for Cyberpunk. The only disappointment, literally no information about, when it's coming out or anything like that. It was just a nice trailer to show off the first information about this game, but nothing new about the game whatsoever. All right, so interesting, but I wish there was more meat there to the information, okay? That Indie Glow cheered. Says Gears needs to add horror back. Kate cheered. Said I'm a star in Gears. I guess because there's a girl in the game called Kate. And AES cheered. Said all the exclusives are also available on PC. That's why my score keeps dropping them to a 7 out of 10. Random Ron says you look at the past exclusives on PS4 like Neo, Persona 5, God of War, Bloodborne, etc. Compare it to past exclusives from Xbox One. Exactly, and that's kind of the point I'm making. When Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, says you will always experience the best in gaming on Xbox, what the fuck are you talking about, Phil? I mean, there's so many games, so many fucking games that have come out only on PS4 that you cannot play on an Xbox console or a PC. If you want the best in gaming, you must own a PS4 at this point in time. How can you make a blatantly lying statement like that? That's fucked up, okay? Ally Guy cheered. His Halo Infinite will be their last chance to show that the series can actually still be good. I agree. I think the mainstream Halo games aren't that good anymore, I agree there. But one thing, before I summarize and I tell you honestly what I thought about in general about this press conference, the one startling omission that was not at the press conference, they didn't talk at all about their new accessible controller. Now, this was big gaming news. This came out about 2-3 weeks ago that Microsoft, behind the scenes, not even revealing anything to anyone, have been working on a controller. It's large, it has touch pads and a bunch of ports for accessories for people who don't have full mobility, i.e., handicapped people who don't have the full mobility of someone like you or me, who are, people who are not handicapped, to play a video game. And so this controller is revolutionary. Yes, it's expensive. I believe it costs over $100, but this controller is going to allow people to interact with games like never before. And games are going to be developed for compatibility with this controller. And it's a big deal that, handicapped gamers will now actually be able to play games that previously were inaccessible to them because the control schemes were too difficult for someone who doesn't have full mobility like everybody else. And this is big news. Why the hell didn't they talk about that? With all the bullshit, right, that they had in this press conference, almost 2 hours, you couldn't cut 5-10 minutes of that shit out to talk about something you actually been working on that's actually pretty damned awesome and actually would make you look good. Like, it baffles me. Like, I thought for sure this would be on a major thing at their press conference and I would love to hear about it. Nothing. Instead, we get the fluff, we get the crap, we get the stuff that you usually get at every single E3 that no one really cares about, and instead we don't get to hear about an actual positive development from the company. You tell me. But instead, we got to have a lying statement from Phil. Cal Link's Charity said, at least Microsoft is finally showing they're getting serious about games by buying studios. It will take time. Yeah, you know what? I do agree there. I have to wholeheartedly agree with Cal Links that at least showing they're serious about new game IPs, game development, and bringing in talented game developers because they realize the people they got working on their exclusives now ain't so good. That's a good sign. And I am pleased to know they are acquiring studios that have put out quality games. But where are the quality games now? How many years are you going to skirt? You know what I mean? And it's hilarious because so many people ran out and bought the Xbox One X at the end of 2017. They bought into that marketing campaign. Xbox One X is the most powerful console. You'll play the best, most powerful games on it. Everyone bought it, and there's no exclusives to play on it. Pub fucking G, that's what you're playing on the Xbox One X? I mean, come on. So press conference-wise, thumbs up from me, B, but actually, you know, promoting your company, not very good. It's hilarious the Microsoft press conference didn't actually do much for Microsoft. It did good for gaming and gamers, but didn't really do much for Microsoft whatsoever. All right, lastly, BattleDuck tipped me a buck and said, at this point, Sony would have to really mess up after EA and Microsoft to not land on the top conference spot this year. But we got Bethesda. We got Bethesda tonight, and who knows what Square Enix and Ubisoft have in store. Don't write those guys out, all right? All right, guys, that is it. For my recap and reactions to the Microsoft press conference, I managed to cover around 2 hours in an hour. That's great. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Share yourselves the tips on the stream. Thanks for watching on YouTube. I'll be covering all the other press conferences coming up, so thank you. And that is it for Microsoft. See you for the other ones coming up soon.